The new belief is that Ace Bailey attempted to force his way to the Washington Wizards. Even if that were the case, I think the Wizards would have took Tre Johnson anyway. This is Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, Locked On the Washington Wizards. We are part of our family. We thank you. Make Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day. I'm one of your co-hosts here, Ben Stover. For all things sports wellness and 980, and alongside, as always, DC Sports content Vince Mott. You be the host of the NBA Sports from KP. How are we doing today on this Tuesday?
Doing good. Commanders are 2-1. Wizards news coming out. Ace Bailey wanting to come here in DC. I guess people do want to come here in Washington. I love to talk about that. First, Alex Hart, now Ace Bailey.
Yeah, we're going to get all into the nitty-gritty of that news today. Real quick to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Also on the show today, going to go through why we are good with Tre Johnson being here over Ace Bailey. And the new City Edition uniforms were unveiled yesterday. A new court, new uniforms, a lot of buzz about that here in D.C. We'll tackle that in the third segment. Also, Will Dawkins set to address the media tomorrow from Care First Arena. I'm hopefully going to be out there, boots on the ground, hopefully get some content for you guys. And we'll report back on the findings from the Wizards general manager in the episode that will likely come out on Thursday morning. But right now, so the reporting that we have seen from Marc Stein of the Stein Line, he's an NBA correspondent with his Substack, and he reports that Ace Bailey he refused the pre-draft workouts from all interested teams to try to force his way to the Washington Wizards at number 6 overall. Ultimately, we know how that story turned out. He goes number 5 to Utah. It took a while for him to get there and actually seemed like he was going to play with the Jazz in the Summer League, and he eventually did, and that's ultimately where he'll be here for his rookie year. But this news is really interesting because Ace Bailey had such a bizarre draft process, as we mentioned. He refused to work out with teams, refused to speak with teams, and ultimately kind of led to him falling to where he was because at the time seemed like a consensus top 3 player in the draft. And I remember before the NBA season even started, he seemed like a guy that might go number 2 overall. Before ultimately his college teammate, his point guard at Rutgers, Dylan Harper, kind of surpassed him in those conversations. But it would have been really interesting to see Harper go 2, Bailey go 3. Ultimately, that doesn't end up happening because it seems like Bailey's camp wanted to go somewhere where they felt like he was going to make an instant impact early on. And now with that being said, Tre Johnson, who goes number 6 overall to the Wizards, we expect him to have a really large role in this team early on, to make an instant impact. And this is exactly what Bailey's camp envisioned for him, but now it's Tre Johnson that's here, and I think the Wizards would have taken Johnson anyway had he, fallen to that point. If Bailey and Johnson were there, they had the choice between the two, I think they would have gone Tre, and I really believe that.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. It kind of does, when the news came out, I honestly wasn't shocked looking back. He was just avoiding those workouts with those early 1 through 5 draft picks. I just think right now for the Wizards, it is what it is. You didn't get Ace Bailey. We were talking about how Ace Bailey, Tre Johnson. I think both of us wanted Tre Johnson. The fact that you get him at 6 is just amazing. But I do wonder, Ben, if Ace Bailey were to go at 3 after Dylan Harper, hypothetically, would have Tre Johnson still be there at 6?
Not sure because Con Knippel went 4, and there was a lot of people that said they were pretty certain that Con would go 4 to Charlotte. Seemed like that would just be the fit they were looking for at the time, and maybe that did make the most sense. So maybe that does end up being the possibility, but Utah might have grabbed Tre Johnson at 5. Then if the Wizards were, trying to just think back, what would have happened there? Edgecombe would have had to go at some point throughout there as well. Maybe the Wizards would have been left to get Edgecombe somehow if that ended up happening, if he didn't go 3 to Philadelphia. Or they would have had to go the route that would have made you crash out in Jeremiah Fears. But I think they should be really happy they ended up with Tre Johnson. And I'm going to make the argument now for why Tre Johnson would have been the pick regardless had Bailey been there or not. You think about it this way, Ace Bailey did not work out with the Wizards to our knowledge. We have no reporting, no intel that says that Ace Bailey communicated with the Wizards in the draft process. I'm sure there was some mild communication at best. did not go through those full workouts the same way Tre Johnson did. The Wizards were very diligent in their draft process. That is why they brought so many guys in and they had so many tests that they put different guys through. They wanted to see how guys responded to different situations. Remember the video that we made after the draft process? We said the Wizards only drafted absolute dogs, guys that were basketball-minded players, guys that loved basketball the way Tre Johnson was, because I think the personal connection that you develop with these players throughout the process is super important in finding out what kind of player you're going to get for your organization. Tre Johnson checked all of the boxes Will Dawkins and this regime was looking for and what they wanted of a guy. They wanted someone that was basketball obsessed, somebody that could play within a team system, somebody that would play defense for him, somebody that would contribute right away to what they are trying to establish here. Tre Johnson was that guy. I don't think they would have passed up on him because of what they knew about him as a person and not just a player.
And I think Ace Bailey, the situation that went down during the draft process and the idea of him being dramatic off the court and just like a diva may have come into effect as well, Ben, because when you're a young team like the Wizards, you don't want your youngest player on the team to be a head case. And maybe Will Dawkins saw that. And from Ace Bailey's perspective, I understand you want to come to a team where you're going to be taking a lot of those shots, but who knows if you draft him, that affects the development of a guy like Bub Carrington, like a guy like Keyshawn George, like Alex Sarr. Getting a guy like Tre Johnson who will hear the constructive criticism during the pre-draft process, will say, yes, I need to do better defensively, and I will show me the mistakes that I made, and I'll try to work on it. That's the type of guy that you want here. That's the guy that will lead you to a championship. That's the guy that will make this franchise more appealing. It does make me wonder, though, Ben, because this is not the first time that someone has tried. Like I mentioned earlier, Alex Sarr wanted to come to Washington. He didn't want to go to Atlanta at one in the 2024 draft. Ace Bailey tried to come here in DC, but looking back, maybe we dodged a bullet. Do you think in the future young guys will start making this a thing, especially since if this team starts winning with the amount of young talent they have?
I think it's something you can look at. I know NBA free agency isn't the same way it used to be in years past, but you'll have to look at it from this perspective that guys that were supposed to be top players in their respective draft classes, Alex Sarr's class, obviously not as good as the 2025 class, but Tre Johnson, who comes here to DC, arguably could have been a guy that was as high as 3 in a lot of people's boards in terms of how good he was in respect to his peers in that draft class. If the Wizards are surrounding a lot of these young players with more talent, if they're able to supplement, maybe it shows that there is some sort of idea around young players in the league that maybe the Wizards could be a good place to start your career or to go to at some point because of the opportunity that exists. And I think it makes sense for guys like Tre Johnson, for Ace Bailey. You can understand why they wanted to be put in certain situations. That's the bottom line, really, with Bailey, is that I think he and his camp, they wanted to go somewhere where he was going to be able to have a really large impact early on. Because let's be honest, if he went to Philadelphia, his role would not be the same as he likely will have in Utah this year. And obviously, Philadelphia is going to be a team all dependent on health, because health is the biggest issue they run into there in the city of brotherly love. They're a team that's going to want to compete. They're going to want to try to go out there and make noise in the Eastern Conference, especially given how open it is this year. If you have Embiid for the full season, Philadelphia should be
Big if.
it's a big if, a major, major if. But if you have those guys healthy, Philadelphia could be a team that absolutely contends in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if Ace Bailey would really be able to be part of that equation for them. And I could see why in Washington they felt like it would be the best fit for him. Now, the really interesting thing that flew over my head, Abdullah, initially, is Ace Bailey's agent is Sharif Cooper's dad.
Yeah,
You know that?
that's crazy. I saw that too. That is something.
So I don't know if Sharif Cooper's father, his agent, has an epiphany, like a taste for DC that he wants his players to get there for their situations. I don't know if that played any role exactly into the signing of Sharif Cooper, but that completely flew over my head when they signed Cooper initially a few days ago.
Yeah, that is something that's interesting to look at, and I just think right now Ace Bailey, for the situation that he's going to have in Utah, maybe he will be the guy taking a lot of those shots. I'm just going to say that we saw it in DC these past couple of years, whether it was Kyle Kuzma or Jordan Poole, one was more effective than the other. Essentially, we just can't have a guy like that, especially a guy who's just so young. And what he did at Rutgers, it was impressive, but in today's NBA, it's hard to have a guy just take all those shots and expect you to win games. And on top of that, you want to make sure you develop the young guys. And on top of that, you want to make sure that you're keeping that top 8 pick that we're always talking about.
I agree. I think Ace Bailey's gonna be a really good player. I'm not trying to knock him down or anything. I just feel like the Wizards would have gone Tre Johnson in that situation. Ultimately, I feel like it's gonna end up being the right decision for the Wizards long term. We're gonna tell you more why Trey was likely always the guy and why we think it'll work out in the long run when we come back here on Locked On Wizards. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes and see clear data visuals and get smart categorization of your spending, and you'll finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. One thing that surprised me about Monarch Money is that I wasn't saving as much as I had thought. Monarch helped me notice inefficient investments and allocated some forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA. I think Trey Johnson is going to have a really good career here in DC. I think he fits exactly what the organization is trying to mold within this young core. I think he fits exactly where they want long term. Right now, you have a kind of a bridge guy, maybe a stopgap in a way. CJ McCollum here as a starting 2 or maybe 3-1. I don't know. Who knows where they're going to go with this lineup, but unless you have a veteran player like that around, you have Bub Carrington alongside as well. You have a congested group of players on the wings. Long term, Tre Johnson will be the shooting guard of the future for this team. I don't really have any doubts of that. The skill he possesses just to shoot the basketball is really going to help them out long term. They have not had consistent 3-point shooting play really for a lot of the past few years. Jordan Poole was the best thing they had in terms of, but he was a much more ball dominant type of player that would play the one often for this Wizards team. So it's going to be different with Johnson, but they severely need 3-point shooting to the arsenal. They need that to essentially elevate them as an organization when the time comes. You think about all the best teams in the NBA now, as much as a lot of people out there don't really like how basketball has evolved this way. 3-point shooting is such a big part of the game. The Celtics would take 57 threes in a playoff game. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
advocating the Wizards should ever shoot that many threes in a playoff game. I think that was absolutely ludicrous. It was ridiculous, and that's why they lost that game to the New York Knicks. The Celtics absolutely imploded with how they were living and dying by the three. But you got to do it. You got to be good as a 3-point shooting team, and you need somebody that is elite at shooting threes, not a average 3-point shooter. You need somebody elite, the way Tre Johnson can be, 40% from three in his freshman season in the SEC. That is a skill that you will always have. Tre Johnson can be 75 years old down the line. He will be able to shoot the basketball. It is a muscle memory thing. You're never going to mistakenly lose your touch as a shooter. And a guy like Tre Johnson, you see his pre-draft workout, he didn't touch the rim on a single shot. Not one of them. He swished every single shot. Yeah, there's no defense. He is a pure shooter, though. Do not get that wrong with Tre Johnson. That is why he is going to be such a good fit here long term. Ace Bailey could be great. He could be dominant. He could be toolsy and turn into a player with the likes of Kevin Durant that has that positional size that you can use for advantage, create his own shot, and get to the basket well and effectively use his freak athleticism. He might very well become that player for Utah. That's great. I really do think he's going to be a great player. But with the Wizards, what they're trying to do right now, I feel like Johnson made the most sense.
I think I agree with you there, Ben. You need 3-point shooting in today's NBA. It's the reality of the situation. People love to say Steph Curry ruined the game of basketball. Well, people are just evolving. Centers are shooting 3-pointers. It's 7-footers. It's insane. A guy like Tre Johnson will make you be competitive in a lot of those games last year where you were down by 30 points, 20 points in the fourth quarter with his 3-point shooting. And like you mentioned, haven't really had a really good 3-point shooter outside of Jordan Poole. But before that, it was just Bradley Beal taking a lot of threes per game. So, and I don't, not only that, but with his scoring threat, I really do think it opens up opportunities for his teammates, whether it's Keyshawn George in the corner, Alex Sarr, a lob threat, Bub Carrington. It's just Cam Whitmore, an athletic beast. When you have so much, it's like the offensive prowess of Tre Johnson. Teams are going to be focusing in on him, sending double teams, and that opens up opportunities for the young guys. And there comes the development of offensively, and then defensively, a guy who maybe can get his hand in the passing lane, transition points. This team is going to play fast. We expect that. They're a really young team. The offensive tempo, everything's going to come off of Tre Johnson. And I'm hoping that within games 15 to 20, and even sooner, that this guy gets involved more in the offense. And the idea of a three-headed lineup monster with McCollum, Bub Carrington, and Tre Johnson is intriguing, but it really just depends defensively how much would that affect the Wizards.
See, you just get it. That that's just the bottom line is you just get it. A lot of Wizards fans are just going to understand what Tre Johnson means in terms of how they're going to develop this team offensively. Ace Bailey could be so talented as a scorer, but the way he played the game at Rutgers, like the style of offense he plays, I don't know if it molds the vision they have here in DC. That was the biggest thing. He's got all the talent. He's got the athleticism, the size. He has everything you'd want in a really, really good NBA level player. And he might develop into something that's really good. But I feel like the way he plays offensively, the possessions are just too empty. We want to be a team that moves the ball around because we feel like we have versatility on the squad. You feel like you have guys that can get it done from the outside, i.e., your Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, also from the outside, made over 100 threes last year. Bilal, if he gets his opportunities from the outside, Tre Johnson, Bub Carrington, also a very good mid-range to
Corey
three-point.
Kispert.
Corey Kispert on the team right now as well. Even the guys off the bench, Will Riley, a known very good shooter and a very tough shot maker. You're going to want the offense to flow around. You're going to want the ball moving, everybody touching it on every single possession. You do not want these empty possessions that plagued this franchise in past years. And not to say Jordan Poole was plaguing the franchise in a way, but that style of offense is just not what they were trying to do long term. Kyle Kuzma, his style of offense, it's not what they want to do long term. And quite frankly, it sucked. Kyle Kuzma's style of offense, it just sucks. It's terrible. It stinks. It's no good. Makes no one around him better. Tre Johnson's style of offense, the way he's going to play, is going to elevate everyone around him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. As much as it was definitely worth watching Kyle Kuzma for some time. It was just getting annoying seeing the aggressiveness and the inefficiency. And I think with this young Wizard squad, when you have a guy like Tre Johnson leading the pack, I think it brings everyone together, realizing that you have an alpha young guy. And I think whoever is the leading scorer of this team, I think hopefully it's Tre Johnson. That would be nice because I want him to win Rookie of the Year. I just know that this team is going to be way better offensively this year because the amount of versatility that we have when you have a guy like Tre Johnson, it just brings your team to a whole different level. And I'm not saying we'll be top 3, top 5 in scoring, but I just don't think there will be games where you only score like 90 points. I expect 100 points or more each game. And I think Tre Johnson's shooting ability is just such a threat in today's NBA. And I really wonder what his splits will be like after his rookie season because, man, he can shoot the lights off of him.
It's going to be so fun to watch. I cannot wait. We are a month away from the regular season starting. Oh, boy. You get to watch Tre Johnson, 6th overall pick, go at it for the first time on the road to start his career. That's going to be exciting. Speaking of new, the new Wizards City Edition uniforms are here. The gold style from the Arenas days is back. And we're going to talk about those new uniforms and the new court when we're back here on Locked On Wizards. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet. Player props, building same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game that much more exciting. Whether you're watching your team or keeping an eye on the fantasy lineup, FanDuel is the best way to do it. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Those gold uniforms, AB, they're back. They're back. And boy, first of all, before I even get into the uniforms that were unveiled yesterday by the team, I just got to put it out right now. I think the new court, the City Edition court, looks so freaking good. Oh my goodness. That DMV logo in the middle that's shaped like a W that pays homage to the Washington Bullets with the basketball kind of coming off the V in DMV. That's so sweet. They hit it with that one. That's all I got to say.
I really missed this logo, Ben, the old logo with the DC with the ball. And the new one with just the ball, I didn't really like it that much, but this City Edition court is nice. Like you mentioned, the DMV, the placement of everything, the colorway. I don't know. Did they say how many games will be using the new City Edition?
29 of them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be great. I'm hoping those games are gonna be competitive, and I mess with it. I gotta definitely get one. My first favorite Wizards jersey edition was the Cherry Blossoms, but I think
Yeah,
this one, well, actually, no,
that's
the veteran was the veteran star one. That one was nice as well, but this one is
Stars and Stripes,
sweet.
yeah.
Mhm.
I like the new ones. The black stripe isn't amazing. I feel like the Wizards eventually need to move away from the whole stripe bit on their jersey because ever since they rebranded to the red, white, and blue back in 2010 or 11, whenever it was, I don't know, the whole stripe thing, it just kinda got tired, and I like the new uniforms that they had put out in years past that didn't feature that stripe across. I feel like they didn't really need to put that there, um, but it's okay. And I know these gold uniforms, like, you look at it from a way of nostalgia because those were some fun days as Wizards fans when you had Gilbert Arenas out there, Caron Butler, Antoine Jameson as well. That was a really compelling Wizards basketball team to watch, and it's a team that I didn't even really get to watch with my own 2 eyes really because it was before my days. These uniforms are like '07, '09. I probably started watching the Wizards in around 2008, 2009 when I was 5 or 6 years old. So it's not something that really resonates as much with me, but I like it. Like, I just kinda look like the way it looks aesthetically. I like they're kinda paying some homage to the old, old organization or not organization, but the old name, the Bullets logo kind of tied alongside that. And I think they're trying to bring more of a together thing because you have the DC ball that's right there on your hat. I think they put the DMV thing because there's a realization that for the Wizards in Monumental, the organization, that the Wizards are the only team that's in the area right now. So you're pulling some of the fan base that's coming maybe out of those Baltimore suburbs. You're pulling people out of Northern Virginia. And I know there's a lot of people from the Baltimore area that don't like the Wizards. That's fine. Like, I understand that if you don't want to support a team from DC because you're a Baltimore sports fan. But with that being said, I feel like the DMV thing, even though Baltimore and that surrounding area is not actually part of the DMV, do not get that twisted. They're still trying to appeal to that demographic a little bit, which I think is smart for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I have a lot of friends that are Ravens fans that they support the Wizards, so you kinda have that
Yeah.
idea of let's get everyone together, and I love how you mentioned that Baltimore is not in the DMV
It's
because
not.
yeah, a lot of people,
And Baltimore
they get
agrees
it
with that.
twisted.
People from Baltimore would tell you they're not from the DMV. It's not the DMV, even though it's DC, Maryland, Virginia, like Norfolk, Virginia. That is not part of the Blacksburg, Virginia. That's 5 hours away from DC. That's not even like DMV is really just the DC metropolitan area. If you got the metro station anywhere remotely close to where you live, you're part of the DMV. Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and then you go to like Fairfax County, DC, obviously. Frederick County, I don't know. Like, Frederick County, you might call North DMV. I don't even know if that's really part of the
Prince
DMV.
William County, right? Mm.
Calvert County, like, we're just spitballing, like, random places, but no, like, the DMV lingo or the DMV where you classify it as is basically what I just brought you there. I think most people would agree with that, but the bottom line is the Wizards, they want their supporters to come from all over the state of Maryland, all over the state of Virginia, and then, of course, the districts. So I like how they're paying ties to that with this uniform as well, but let us know what you guys think about these new uniforms. Did they hit it or did they miss?
I think they did a good job. I also like the way they brought it out. The social media team did a really good job with that. But with all that being said, as much as it's nice to look good on the court, you have to be able to perform. So I think when it comes to fans and attendance, it's going to come down to can this team be competitive? And like you mentioned, season a month away, that first couple of games, that stretch, it's going to be rough. But how can our young guys respond? How can year two of the big three of Keyshawn, Bub, and Alex go out there and perform? Tre Johnson, how many minutes will he get? CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, will they make an impact right away come this season? Cam Whitmore, what his role will look like? Bilal Coulibaly, we still don't have a timetable when he's going to return, right, Ben?
They said initially 6 to 8 weeks from the time that he was injured around 2 weeks ago, so maybe we see him, like, 2 weeks into the season, if I had to guess. Hopefully, that's the longest that we have to wait to see him, but, we'll have to wait and see about that.
Damn, interesting. Praying for a speedy recovery, but now it's next man up. And can Cam Whitmore carve a role out of this offense? We'll have to see.
Exactly. Hope to see competitive basketball in those brand new threads for the Washington Wizards. Ace Bailey, he tried to force his way to DC. I don't think it really would have mattered. I think Tre Johnson was the guy. He will be the guy here long term. Let us know your thoughts on that below. Do you feel like Tre Johnson would have been the Wizards guy? Do you feel like Tre Johnson will be what the Wizards need going forward? And what do you think about the new City Edition uniforms. Let us know. If you're not subscribed to the channel, join the DC family. Subscribe. It's free. We're available on all platforms. It helps the best Wizards coverage grow as we are with you 5 days a week, year-round. We're getting close to the season. Tomorrow, Will Dawkins addresses the media from Care First Arena in Washington, D.C. I will be there. I'm going to report back the findings of that ABL. I'm going to talk to you about that, see if you can get you out there as well. But we're going to find out a lot from Will Dawkins, the general manager of the Wizards, tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that, probably in the video that comes out on Thursday morning. But for now, we thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today and every single day. You're an everydayer. Your second of the Locked On NBA podcast, and check out the NBA Top 100 list made by the Locked On NBA. Really good info over there. Maybe you'll see one Washington Wizards that crack the list. Now, Wizards Nation, my co-host, Abdullah Yubi, and then Silver. See you next time.